Regardless of your reasons for co-sleeping, whether it's planned co-sleeping or accidental co-sleeping, does create an increased risk of SIDS, suffocation, and other sleep-related infant death, particularly in the first 12 months. So if and when you do it, you need to take steps to reduce the risk as much as possible, starting with preparing the environment. If you are co-sleeping, you should be sleeping on a firm flat mattress, never on a waterbed or placing anything soft underneath them. For example, a lamb's wool underlay or a pillow, as this can actually increase the risk of overheating, which is a known risk factor for SIDS, as well as increase the risk of accidental suffocation. You should also move the bed or mattress away from the wall or other pieces of furniture, because this will ensure your baby can't get trapped between the bed and the wall, or the bed and those pieces of furniture. Now, this often leads parents to becoming concerned that their baby may roll out of the bed and fall onto the floor. So to limit the falling, obviously ensure that your baby's not close to the edge of the bed, and think about whether or not you want to place that mattress directly on the floor, because this will reduce the risk of your baby accidentally falling out of the bed significantly. Do not place pillows on the side of your baby to prevent them rolling off, as this will actually increase the risk of overheating as well as suffocation. Once the bed is prepared and it's time to hop in with your baby, make sure that you position your baby so that they are to the side of one caregiver and not between two caregivers. Because when you sleep a baby between two caregivers, it increases the likelihood of the baby's head becoming covered or sleeping beneath the adult bedding and resulting in suffocation, as well as increases the risk of overheating, which is a known risk factor for SIDS. You also want to make sure that you place your baby on their back to sleep, never on their tummy or their side, because babies who sleep on their back are much less likely to die of SIDS and babies who sleep on their stomach or their sides. And most importantly, you want to make sure that there is a clear space around your baby. So you do not want any blankets, pillows, sheets, doas, lamb's wools, or soft toys within reach. And this is because these items can actually increase the risk of SIDS, suffocation, entrapment, and wedging, as well as strangulation. Now, if it is a cold night, instead of using bedding like blankets and doas, you want to place your baby in a safe sleeping bag with their arms out. You don't ever want to wrap or spot your baby when you're bed sharing or co-sleeping. And lastly, you want to make sure that your partner is aware that you've actually placed a baby in the bed with you, while this advice helps to reduce the risk associated with co-sleeping. There are times when you should never share a bed or co-sleep with a baby, even if you're doing all the things I just mentioned. But before I go into those, if you haven't already, make sure you download your free copy of my new Parent's Guide to Naps, which will help you get your little one to take better naps during the day by understanding their sleep requirements based on their age. So the situations where you should never share a bed with your baby are, firstly, if the baby shares the sleep surface with a caregiver who is a smoker or under the influence of alcohol or drugs that causes sedation. And that's because the risk of sleep-related infant death is actually 10 times higher for a baby who shares their bed with someone who is fatigued or has taken medication that makes it harder for them to wake up. The second situation is if the baby is premature or small when they were born, so they have a low birth weight, or they're less than 4 months of age, and that's because the risk of sleep-related infant death. Whilst bed sharing is actually 5 to 10 times higher when the baby is younger than 4 months of age, and 2 to 5 times higher when your baby is born prematurely, or they have a low birth weight. The third situation is if adult bedding doas or pillows are being used, and they may accidentally cover the infant. And that's because the risk of sleep-related infant death is 2 to 5 times higher for babies who bed share when adult bedding is being used. The fourth situation is if the baby is sharing the bed with other children or pets, and that's because the sleep-related infant death is 5 to 10 times higher than the baseline risk of a parent and infant bed sharing, so it's significantly higher. And the last situation is if the baby is placed to sleep on sofa, beanbag waterbed, or a sagging mattress. And that's because the risk of sleep-related infant death is up to 67 times higher when infants sleep with someone on a couch, a soft armchair, or a cushion. Now, while all of these things help to reduce the risks associated with co-sleeping, unfortunately, those risks can never be eliminated completely. And for that reason, the American Academy of Pediatrics and Red Nose Australia don't recommend co-sleeping, and instead recommend that you always place your baby on their back. But in a crib bassinet, porta-cot, or a play yard, and always on a firm mattress with a fitted sheet. And you could place that in your room, particularly in the first 6 months of their life, because that will help to reduce the risk of SIDS. If you're struggling with your newborn sleep, and you want to learn how to get them to fall asleep easier and stay asleep for longer, make sure you watch this video next, where you'll get my top 7 tips to improve your newborn sleep. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week where I'll share more parenting tips and tricks.